Cuba is in the dark, literally. Nationwide blackout, no fuel, hospitals struggling to function, and Trump is saying Cuba is next. So, who actually runs Cuba, and could its leader be removed? Let's break it down here. Cuba is going through one of the worst crises in its modern history. The US has imposed a de facto oil blockade on the island, and this is America's first effective blockade since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba depends on imported oil for almost everything they have, whether it's electricity, their food, their transport, hospitals, and right now their supply has been cut off. The United States has openly stated that regime change in Cuba is its goal by the end of 2026. It is telling the Cuban government to make a deal before it's too late. Now here's where it gets complicated. Miguel Díaz-Canel is Cuba's president. But in Cuba, it's the first secretary of the Communist Party who holds the real power and is also Diaz-Canel. However, the real power, it actually lies in the military, under the 94-year-old Raúl Castro. Even after formally stepping down, Raúl Castro remains the dominant figure in Cuba, and analysts say that it is unlikely to change. So could Diaz-Canel actually be replaced? The two names are coming up: Oscar Perez Oliva Farraga, Raúl Castro's great-nephew. He rose from obscurity to become deputy prime minister in 2025 and is seen as a rising technocrat inside the system. The second name is even more interesting: Raúl Guillermo Rodriguez Castro, known as Raulito, which is Raúl Castro's grandson and a former bodyguard to his grandfather, and is reportedly the secret back channel between Havana and Washington right now. But analysts are blunt about that, what any change would actually mean here. Even if Díaz-Canel is removed and replaced, experts say it would be cosmetic reshuffle, not a reform in the system. And while the politics play out, United Nations has warned of possible humanitarian collapse in Cuba, with journalists on the ground reporting that infant mortality rate is rising because hospital staff cannot get to work. There are simply no businesses running there. Subscribe for more updates.